Welcome back to the lab. Another little project that's been sitting here waiting for a very long time for me to get on with and get sorted out is replacing the ECU that's in the D40 Navara V8U. Now, it's not a factory ECU, it's a Emtron KV8, which is a very capable ECU. I've got no qualms over what it can do, what its functions are, and its performance seems to have gone fine as far as the actual ECU for its life in the ute, which is about 8 years now. However, this software, I really don't like the software. It's quite different to what I'm used to. I like the Link stuff. It's way easier, way better, and probably has basically the same functionality as the Emtron anyway, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as anybody my level of stuff and things that we're doing, you can do it with a Link. Just the same. As far as a KV8 versus a Link Xtreme. There'll be some discrepancies, you can argue over that. I actually don't care. So, anyway, let's see what we're dealing with. VK45DE D40 Navara. It's got a manual gearbox behind it. It's got a modified 300ZX flywheel with the factory VK45DE trigger wheel cut down into a ring and welded onto the flywheel. That might be causing problems, and we'll find out the hard way if it is. Initially when the company that sold us and fitted the Emtron into this ute, initially when we were trying to get it all tuned and everything, there were problems with triggers. We couldn't take it past about 6,000 RPM. This is fine, 6,000 RPMs, that motor in this ute, that's fine, that's good enough anyway. So we just redlined it at that, limited it at that rather. At that point, the motor that was in here is not this motor, it was actually a VK45DE. So that was a direct injection motor, and all the direct injection was disabled. There's a pump that lives on the back corner, it just wouldn't fit, it would have hit the firewall, and it just, yuck. So that was all disabled, and there were injectors on custom rails up here, and it was all a bit of a yucky setup, to be fair. It worked, it was very agricultural, it wasn't perfect. We all accepted that and knew that, and that was fine. Upgraded it to VK45DE proper port injection. As you can see, the injectors are down there. Most of the original wiring harness has remained in there. That's been in the vehicle for its life. It's 8 years old now or something like that as far as this setup. It has been retuned by somebody maybe not all that familiar with the Emtron KV8. There are some issues going on. There are some weird things. It drops a cylinder after a certain period of driving, cruising down the road, and if you just don't do anything about it, just leave your foot exactly where you are and continue driving, it drops another cylinder and it gets all rough, and you just change the throttle setting a little bit and it all goes away. And we've tried fiddling around trying to get there, but as I said earlier, I'm more familiar with the Link stuff and I would be able to resolve that, not so much with the KV8. There's some stuff that's, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, it doesn't matter, it's possibly my fault, possibly someone else's, whatever, it doesn't matter, it just needs to be fixed. There's some weird things going on with the dash and starting the ute. Every now and then you go out, you turn the key and it'll start absolutely fine, fires up immediately, runs for like half a second, and it says, nah, can't be bothered, and it turns off. You can try and re-crank it, it just will not go. Doesn't matter how many times you try and re-crank that. If it's done that, it will not go. You turn the key all the way off and all the way back on again, and it'll start up and it'll run fine. Or do what it just did to you, sometimes 3 or 4 times, and then it'll go and it'll be all right. So that's a bit random. I need to figure out what's happened with whatever, whether something's broken or a relay's a bit crappy. They're actually brand new relays in there now and it didn't change any of that. So I need to resolve that. Something to do with the way it's been wired, and there might be some confusion over what the factory wires were doing, what the factory body control module was doing, how we're controlling that and all that sort of carry on. So I've got to go through that and redo it. We're going to sort it out and we're going to put a link. That's a Link sticker on the back of the car there, see? We're going to put a link in that. So then that's running a Link, and then the ute's running a Link, and then I don't have to try and deal with 2 different systems. I can just deal with the one software system and the one way of thinking with everything. It's so much easier for me. And in the unlikely event, we've never had a problem, but in the unlikely event that we go to a racetrack and a computer dies for whatever reason, pretty hard to kill, unlikely it'll fail, but let's say it does, maybe too much vibration in the march or something and manage to kill it that way. Even that's difficult to do. We'd be able to pull the ECU out of the ute and make the march go, or whatever. So let's have a look where we're starting. It's actually all going to start here and here. We need to pull the file for the ute with the Emtron software and painfully go through and work out what wires are on what pins. It's actually really not easy to do with the Emtron compared to the Link stuff. Write it all down, figure it all out. We've got our Link Xtreme in the box here. We've got a map sensor to replace the map sensor that's on the ute. I'm not really all that familiar with it, don't really like it. Let's put a Link one in there, it'll be better. We've got a couple of second-hand Link CAN Lambda units. The KV8 has built-in CAN Lambda. I understand the new G5, when that comes out, will have built-in CAN Lambda, but it's probably a bit more of an ECU than what we need for the ute, keeping them realistically priced. So the Xtreme plus the CAN Lambdas, especially seeing as I've got these second-hand, that's a way to make it work financially sensibly, you know. And a couple, these are basically, they're new, but they're old stock, you know. So we've got these from Kelvin from the Car Tubing Company, A and B loom, quite long ones, because I like to keep the leftover wires and stash it in my drawers and use them on other jobs. So laptop stuff and things, write it all down, take it all back to the ute, make sure it is what it says it is, as far as what pins are in what plugs, and then label it all, and then we'll start working through the process of depinning and replacing wires as required. Speaking of easy, did I just say something about easy? I think I was talking about easy. I've made life a lot easier. Ta-da! I moved it to right next to the bench and the toolbox and everything. I actually had some concerns it might not fit. It was a bit of a tight fit. It's not too bad though. It did make it, and I haven't destroyed any paint or written the vehicle off. Bearing in mind I had to drive over that little ramp there. Was quite close. But it did fit, and this is on its stops, so it's not going to come down any further. Let's not set this on fire while we're working on it, because we'll burn this and we'll burn this, and this that'd be a very expensive bad day. So we've got what we've got of a pinout. It's not much help really, is it? That's literally all the information that I could get out of the tune as to where things are on the ECU. Bearing in mind there's our injectors are all across that row there, which is, I don't mind that layout. That's, I'll give them credit where it's due. That's probably a better way to do it than the way my preferred ECU has done it. Sorry, Link, it's true. It's that, I like that. That's better than having it other ways. But hey, whatever. That's fine. That's fine. So there's 16 of them are taken care of. They can't go anywhere else. The grounds and all that sort of stuff is all labelled on here. So I'm assuming that plus that, I should be able to work out every single wire that is tucked away in here. This is where our ECU lives in this one. I'm going to start with some simple stuff that won't disable the vehicle. I'm going to pull some insulation off so we can go through, we can replace some wires with some new wires, better wires, and get it going nicely. We're going to put the ECU back in the same spot, just there, just simplicity, that works. They're waterproof to a point. A little bit of rainwater on it isn't going to hurt. That one's been same spot, 8 years, hasn't had any problems. So here's the bracket that was used to hold the Emtron, because there's just nothing with the Emtron. You've got to make your own. They may have changed that with the later models, but you literally got to make something to clamp it and hold it. There's no screw holes or anything. It's just a box. You're on your own kind of thing. The Link ECUs are provided with I think the G5's different actually, looking at pictures online. They're provided with some clips down the side and this bracket. So I've made a simple adapter. It's a little bit rough. It was a little bit short on material on that corner, but we're all right for what this is doing. So that goes in there like that. A couple of screws in that, hold that there. And the new ECU will just clip into that. I'll clip it in on the bench, and then we're only dealing with 2 screws to get it on there. And then we can start dealing with lengths of wires and stuff and things. Right, it's when you get to here that the phone rings and it's a customer saying, right, that car that you wanted will be here this afternoon. No, I'm just kidding. That hasn't actually happened. Next week, though, there's something else coming next week, so that's good, unless things change in between here and there. So, that particular harness there, that goes away. That doesn't stay in the vehicle. When we go to the link, this is for the onboard lambda, which is in the ECU. If we put a G5, if we waited and put a G5 ECU from Link in here, that has onboard lambda, so you would run these wires. Seeing as we don't have onboard lambda on our G4X Xtreme, those wires go away, and 1 unit per lambda. That's the plug right there that I'm just touching with that one there. So this unit will go somewhere, and then there's 4 wires. So there's a power, a ground, and the 2 CAN wires, high and low. So this, I guess, look, there's some spare studs on the firewall. I'll make a little bracket, bolt that onto the firewall. There's one over there, there's one there by the fuel pressure regulator, and a couple over the other side there as well. So stick those on the firewall, run a small harness with 4 wires going into the engine bay instead of a few. I'm not going to count them, it's just, it'll be an even number because there's 2 sensors, a few. So they will go away. The wires that are in here for my injectors, this is not super nice wire that we get with our Link harnesses, the Link supplied harnesses. So I'm going to Foxtrot, Oscar, all that stuff. I've got some, it's over there in the mess. Look at the mess. Lunch. Damn it, it's lunchtime. I've got some new injector plugs. Look, I could go and get new terminals and new plugs and everything. They're 20 bucks each. There's 16 of them. It adds up, right? If you do the coil plugs as well, 16. It adds up to big money. Big money when you're broke. So I'm going to use second-hand ones, and I'm going to splice them in. Too bad. If you don't like it, too bad. It's my car. But it'll get rid of the old wire and the old injector plugs, which are, I suspect, potentially causing problems. So won't need to do the coil plugs. They'll have nice wires. They've actually got the right connectors on there. So we'll be de-pinning the wires from the Link plugs, plugging in the wires that are in here already. They have the same connectors. Anything I do here and now, at the moment at least, I want to be able to reverse it very, very quickly, so that if I need to use the ute for something, I can. I don't have a tune right now to put into this to make it start and run. There's a couple sitting in here that should be very, very close, and with these we can get the fuel mixtures right, and then we'll have to tune it. But to be honest, what I want to do is steal the tune out of Christopher's D22 V8 that he's got, because that's got a VK45DE in that, and the tune that's in that, although it's set up for 95, should be very, very close to what we need for this. It'll be absolutely enough to get it up and running and make sure there's no issues, and then get it on the dyno and tune it properly. Spaghetti everywhere, beyond the point of no return, kind of, sort of. Won't actually be using a lot of this harness that's on these plugs. Like I say, I'm just going to stash it aside and use it for other things. We'll do where it's practical. As I said, don't want to spend mega bucks on new plugs and stuff. Where I need to, I will. Where I don't need to, I'm not going to. The old Emtron stuff and things here, slowly being dissected and pulled to pieces. And eventually we're going to need a program for in there, a tune to make that go. And by the magic of the internet, we've got this thing here come back. So this is Christopher's U, you know this one. So that's a VK45DE as well. You'll notice a different orientation of the throttle and the plenum and all that, so the tune won't be perfect. But it's got same size injectors and same basic engine layout, etc. It'll be enough, it'll run. Everything, all the wiring's all on the wrong pins and stuff, that whole heap of settings to change, but it'll be enough of a tune to start it, run it, get it to the shop and tune it properly. So I've stolen that out of its brain in there and just given it a once over and made sure everything's still good after how many years now, Mr. Christopher?
Five, six.
A long time.
Yeah.
I don't know how many kilometres it's done, but it's dirty. Under all this, under here, it's like raining clay if you go under there. So it's being used and it's holding up good. Well, excellent. We had those damn Navara relays. We had a pair of those in it and they caused grief. So we've ditched those and we've gone with traditional relays without the fuses built in, put the fuses in line. It's just for the cooling fans. They were sometimes not working. Never overheated it, but it could have if he hadn't been paying attention. So we've resolved that and that's all good. Okay, enough yarning about this. Better get back onto the more important job. I need this to get to do things. Just got off the phone with my official tech support man, Kelvin from the Cartoon Company. Look, these brown wires here, these shielded brown wires that get joined to these ugly grey shielded wires that go into the ECU. They run through here and across here and along here and down there through a plug. And then from that plug they go through there and they go under this sucky holdy control-y thingy, and they're attached to the knock sensors. So I don't think that's actually enabled. So I was going to suggest we just ditch this. So I talked to Kelvin. I can make up my own mind, all right? But sometimes it's good to bounce ideas around. And we've decided we're going to put a couple of Bosch wideband ones in there. And we're going to use, we didn't talk to Kelvin about this, so this is news to him, but I'm going to replace the harness with probably, that's them right there actually. Those wires there are for the knock sensors, because this has knock stuff and things in it to do stuff and things already. So we don't need a special box or anything, so we can use what's on board the Link Xtreme G4X. Free advertising for them. Right, so new harness from there through, all the way through. We'll get rid of that plug, but I'll do that a little bit later. For now, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm just going to unplug that and get that out of the way. Make things nice and simple. So I'm going to take the plenum off to get there. Don't have to take this half off this half. I just have to get the fuel rails out of the way, pull that off. So I'm going to make sure, I think, over here somewhere, and all my stuff and things, I think there might be the gaskets between the head and the manifold, so I can do that. We can put new sensors in there, and then when we tune it, probably, I'm sorry to let you down, probably tune it for 95 rather than 100 octane to save us. I don't know what the difference is in price. It's going to be quite a lot. It's going to be 15 to 20 cents a litre probably. When this thing's using 20 litres per 100 Ks, that's a significant saving on fuel straight off the bat. So we also want to knock that 20 litres down. I feel it should be more like 15 litres per 100 Ks. So hopefully we can do that. Not blaming the Emtron for the fuel usage. It's the way it's set up. It's the tune that'll be doing it. And possibly the person behind the steering wheel with the heavy foot. Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? Needed to get to the det sensors, detonation sensors. 1, 2 being a V, so you know which bank's doing which. And the only way that's going to happen, realistically, is to pull the entire inlet manifold off. So that's been cast aside there. Wish we had a supercharger to sit on here instead. Be nice. Actually, I don't, because it would cost so much money to run it. Even ITBs would be really cool, but again, it's just going to cost more in fuel, possibly. Might be less, who knows. Yep, so depth sensors, so we've got, those are the Nissan ones. I don't know if there's anything wrong with those or not, and I'm not even sure if the Emtron, if that was using them at all. They were certainly wired up whether they've been tuned or activated or anything like that. Who knows, can't remember. Don't know if I paid for it or not, or asked for it or not, or anything. Doesn't matter. Got some Bosch ones from Kelvin, cartoon company. Brand new, so we know what we've got. These are wideband ones. I don't know, there's narrowband, wideband depth sensors, but whatever. And some brand new plugs and everything. So we'll do a little, I'll do a little harness like this has got here, a little short one, right? So you can still take the entire engine harness off and not have just 2 wires or 3 wires or whatever hanging off something that you can't get to the plugs to remove it. I don't like things that are built like that, so I don't do it myself. So we'll use this. This is way too much wire for our depth sensors. You could put them in the boot, in the back of the ute, just about. So we'll use a little piece off the end here to make the bit from there. So a plug here somewhere, and we'll just use a Deutsch connector, one of these ones is in this box underneath here, and that'll be good as gold. Done diddly do, beautiful. Bit of a harness through there, Deutsch connector, smack bang in the middle of your screen now. It's only 3 pin, because there's 3 wires technically per depth sensor. There's only one really super concerned about. That's the actual sensor wire. The other one's an earth, and then there's a shield. And the shield and the earth are connected at the ECU anyway. So you can actually put both earths and both shields to 1 pin, which leaves you with 3 pins. So you can use a smaller Deutsch connector. You don't need a 4 pin or a 6 pin. You can do it with 3. And that just sits, that will go into the rest of the harness like that. And I'll put some heat shrink or whatever around that to tidy that up. That's basically ready to put this, or close to ready to putting this back on, except we're going to ditch this map sensor that's hanging off here, because I'm not exactly sure what it is, or whether it's going to cause grief or whatever. That one there. So I'll put a fitting on there for a hose so we can use the link map sensor. Never hurts to have a little bit of a look around if you can. I do have a, excuse the mess, do have a inlet plenum gasket and also manifold gaskets in stock. Just took the top off this and because I was concerned it was leaking around this area. There's just evidence of a bit of seepage going on, and that apparently was the case. There, probably there as well. So this could be warped a little bit. It wouldn't be uncommon. And also this could be warped. You can see the variable runner actuators here. You guys know how that works. If you're watching this, you're interested in that stuff and you know how it works, so I don't have to explain. So I'll clean all this out. I'll clean that out. New gasket in here. Maybe put a little bit more sealant on the gasket so it takes care of this stuff. And as I say, move this somewhere else, the new one, and that should be good to go back on. Sorted. Genuine Nissan manifold pressure do-flicky thingy. Had to change the thread, so but that's fine. Done. And had to make sure it was going to clear the things that are back here. It's just the heater hoses. This is the biggest issue. There is a crankcase ventilation pipe that runs across there, which I've made. It's a custom one, so I can change that if I need to, but I'm pretty sure that will be absolutely fine. Right, Monday was a absolute write-off. I think, to be honest, I kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit by allowing the battery to be basically flat. It wasn't flat, but it was flat enough that while attempting to crank, it wasn't really the voltages that we needed. Despite the ECU not actually shutting off, I think it was causing dramas, and my bad, basically. Get that. So anyway, it's had the battery charger on there overnight. Have a look at it with a fresh mind. A bit better sleep last night than the night prior, and a little bit of that is actually a good way to do it, to check that you've got your spark timing correct and not 360 degrees out. Pull all your injectors plugs off, or turn it off in the computer, whatever, and engine start, because you won't foul the plugs as easily. And if it goes brum, you've got it right. If it goes bang bang pop pop, you're 360 degrees out and firing your spark plugs as the exhaust strokes going on. So I did that, and we had it right. It fired up and ran. Cool. This is why this is off, right, to get it in there. And put the injectors back on. Crank, wouldn't start. But the engine start, fired up, ran for a bit, leaned itself out and stopped. So that's fine. We've got a little bit too little fuel. Will need tuning. Fuel pressure in this will be different to what Christopher's ute was, and stuff and things. So that's fine. I just want to get it to the point where it'll run good enough to drive it to a tuner and get it tuned. At least the sun's out, as you can see by the shadow. So it's nice and warm, good weather. Not far away, just get the fuel mixtures right, we should have a driving vehicle. Yay. Wow, that's if you want to drive it with your sketty like this. It needs obviously it needs some insulation and stuff. We'll get to that shortly. I'm going to power up the CAN lambdas at this point. The engines run for 15-20 seconds without those, it'll be fine. So power those up, and then I know what is happening with the mixtures. I can see it and deal with it. Well, that part of it's good. This part's not good. That's running, it's good. A couple of niggly little problems, but that's sorted. It's running. I can't go through here because of this. Hang on. Look at that. Temperature gauge works. Tachometer works. I'm not going to tell you what the trick was to make those things go. I'm keeping that to myself, and you can pay me money. Fuel gauge isn't going. Something weird happening with that. I'll have to sort that. Yeah, stoked. So, tachometer probably reads wrong, but we can deal with that because this is a diesel cluster with a petrol fascia. So the RPM scale is not what the factory thinks. It is not doing 1,000 RPM. It is doing, I don't know, what's it doing? Hang on. I still don't know what it's doing. General? It's doing 870 RPM, or close to 900, so our RPM scale's wrong. There may be a way to fix that, or I'll ask Link nicely, because they already know what the CAN protocols are for what I'm using here to make this work, so they'll be able to tweak it for me to get this. But yeah, it's it'll probably blow up. I'll give it a rev and it'll explode. Do you reckon? I don't think it did quite that many RPM just then, but we'll pretend it did. We've probably run that off the end of the clock at the moment because it's reading slightly high. I'm going to say it's about 10-15% high. Good. Success. Great success. Some tidying up done. Through there. Started in this area here. I started hunting around for another relay to do the air conditioning clutch. I was going to do a DI digital input from the Hori switch that's on the inside there and run it through the ECU, and I thought, wait, hang on a minute. If I've got those things there working like that, and I have a look in the software here, and I do the right things, we might not have to use the aftermarket switch that I've got there. And see, this is a bit of an issue, perhaps, but whatever. And see, air conditioning status, request off, inactive, AC clutch off. And so I thought I'll set a couple of things up in the CAN software. Did you hear the engine RPM increased? It's expecting a load. The light is on. This is good. The computer knows, and that knows that we've pushed the button. And look, all I've got to do now is put an output to a relay and awesomeness happens. I don't have to use this aftermarket switch here. That can just go away. I can punch that through there and put a blank back there. Awesomeness. See, if I push this button, the RPM will come back down. There you go, see? Because it's expecting the load from the air compressor. And that'll stop it stalling when I turn the air conditioning on. So that's absolutely awesome. Now that I've got that working, we go over to here to ECU controls and we store it to the ECU. Yeah, so that we don't lose it. So that's working. Yay! It goes. So test drive taken care of. It's a bit flat, but we'll sort that with a proper tune on Friday. Gave it a wash. Tidied up the wiring for you. It's not mint, but it'll do for a work hack. That engine's a bit tired anyway, so expect it to come out at some point in time. ECU tucked away in there, all nice and tidy. Doing all the things it needs to do. He sees bravely as he prepares to put the key in it and see if it'll start first pop. It is warm. Can't complain about that too much, can we? Except I need to fix that oil warning thing. I did have that sorted. That wasn't an issue, and then it just became an issue. It stopped doing what it needs to do for some reason. I bypassed the system with a little resistor in the back of the dash there, and it was mint for years, and then it gave up. So I need to check the resistor hasn't popped, or we haven't lost a fuse that supplies the power to that, or something like that. It's no big deal. If there was noise, it's because I've just grabbed the microphone. I shouldn't really do that at home, but you guys will have appreciated that, I'm sure. Right, tune on Friday. Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.